Does this mic work? Yeah, it does work. Oh, I gotta put a cushion underneath. So when I go, it's not too loud. I'll put my Washington, D.C. Unofficial guidebook underneath my microphone. We're really high tech here at the Pinecreek Politics channel. Okay, how do I start this? I did a video on the other channel about Dennis Prager, saying you'll love Dennis Prager after you watch this video. Most of you didn't either watch the video or love Dennis Prager after it, but that's okay. It just maybe helped shed a different light on Dennis Prager. And then last night, one of the guys I used to play poker with, he doesn't play poker with me anymore, but he said, I can't love Dennis Prager. I'm paraphrasing. I just can't take this guy seriously or anything because of his blatant dishonesty. And then he referenced Rationality Rules video, which I hadn't seen until last night. And I'm only going to play, 3 minutes of it? 4 minutes of it? Because this is, I guess, the best example of the dishonesty. I'm trying to think, what's the best way to go about this? Maybe the best way to go about this is just play it and say nothing at first, and then play it again and give you my thoughts on it. But I got to put a disclaimer out there. Maybe I should do a disclaimer. Yeah, okay. I'm going to do that here. Why isn't it working? Uh-oh, we got problems. Okay. Maybe I won't. I'm scared. The disclaimer is this. And this is for people like Rationality Rules. More the... No, I can't say that. I got to say the disclaimer before I can say that. This disclaimer is this. I'm going to try to manipulate your feelings and emotions. I'm going to actively do that. I'm going to try to manipulate you, your feelings and emotions. And here's what I want you to do. Don't let me. Actually, you might just click off. Okay, the best way to not let Doug manipulate my emotions is by not watching Doug. Okay, fair enough. But here's the challenge. The challenge is for you, and if I tagged Rationality Rules, if he ever hears this, this is my challenge to you. I will purposely say things that will manipulate your emotions to try to get a rise out of you, to try to get a knee-jerk reaction. And I'm begging you, don't let me inside your head. Be strong and be like a robot, a little dead inside, a lot dead inside, okay? After I give you my perspective. So let's practice. Here we go. We're practicing. I'm going to say something, and I want you to practice to be dead inside. And this is especially for people who like Rationality Rules and what he said in this video about Dennis Prager being dishonest. Today, I'm going to be an apologist for Dennis Prager. Are you guys okay? Are you practicing? Are you steady? Are you calm? Did you do it? Could you hear those words coming out of an atheist's mouth and not have anything inside you go ding, 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 or woot, woot, woot? If you did it, congratulations. You're on your way to getting your PhD in advanced political studies with the Pinecreek Politics channel. Okay, so I'm going to play it first. I'm going to try to make no reactions, and then I'm going to play it again and give you my take on it.
So let me give you some data from the National Institutes of Health, National Library of Medicine. Data suggests that adherence to religious beliefs is associated with lower rates of suicide. Would you say that that's significant? A number of factors have been hypothesized to explain this association, including enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology. Well, that's all. That's all religion gives you. Let's review that. Enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology. That's pretty powerful.
Do you want to know what's actually pretty powerful? Showing the title of one study, namely Religion and Suicide, New Findings, but when zooming in, showing an abstract from a completely different study. A study titled Religious Beliefs Buffer the Impact of Depression on Suicide Ideation. To make this clearer, here on the left you can see the study that Dennis reads the title of, and on the right you can see the abstract of a completely different study he zooms into.
Well, that's all.
Except it's not all, is it, Dennis? Because you didn't just read a completely different abstract, but evidently added your own paragraph to it. Yeah. Here on the left is what the actual study's abstract states, whereas here on the right is the screenshot Dennis shows and reads out to his audience. You can even see above his added paragraph that it's the same abstract. It's even got the same font, same hex colours, and the same keywords. So did Dennis and his team add their own text to a study to bolster their case? Are they seriously that crooked? Well, if we check the Wayback Machine, we can see that the site hasn't changed since it was published, which is standard for studies. And if we Google the text that Dennis and the Daily Wire have added, we can see just one result comes up. But get this, it's from yet another study. A study titled Religiosity as a Protective Factor Against Suicidal Behaviour. A study whose conclusion reads, religiosity has a protective effect against suicide attempts, which is independent of social functioning, psychopathology, and substance use. But what Dennis did was take the objective and then paste it into another study to present it as if it's the conclusion, and to then paste both of these slices under the title of a third study.
Would you say that that's significant?
Yes, I would. In fact, I'd say that it's a damn disgrace. I cannot understate how unethical and immoral this is. The paper they steal the objective from even states, contrary to Dennis, that there were no differences in social functioning or rates of psychopathology among the study groups.
And lower rates of psychopathology.
So there you have it, folks. Dennis and the Daily Wire were so desperate to justify their bigotry that they've cherry-picked a title from one study, an abstract from another study, and digitally stitched in the objective from yet another study as to present it as a conclusion.
Well, that's all.
That is fucking absurd. Utterly breathtaking. Look, I can understand if you disagree with me, but if you endorse this level of manipulation, God help you, because your conscience sure as hell can't.
Okay, that was it. That was only about 4 minutes. And I am really proud of myself for being dead inside through that whole thing. I don't think I gave off any reaction. I'm going to rewind it here. I want to do a poll first before we start my part. Start a poll. What Dennis Prager did was really, really bad. Just one really, really bad. Not so bad. Just do 3. Well, we'll put in good, right? We might as well put in good. Okay, ask the audience here. We got 65 people in here already. That's pretty good for a small channel like this. When I went to school, I took statistics, and they told me if you get over 30, it's a representative sample. I said no, but they said yes, and I said bunch of goofballs. But let's see if we can get over 30. 30 votes. How can you get a representative sample with only 30? All right, I mean, we got 24 already. Don't worry, this is anonymous. when you click on an answer, I won't know who you are, but I will know your social security number, your mother's maiden name, and the name of your first car, make and model. That's the only thing I'll know about you guys. Okay, oh, I gotta write this down. By the way, if there's any Christians or Jews watching, you're gonna like this. You're gonna have fun. Why don't I ever have scrap paper, Myron, when I need it? Why do I pay you minimum wage? You're not even worth it. Come on. Yeah. Would it kill you to have some scrap paper around? Sorry you guys had to hear that. It's like when you own a big company like the Pinecreek Politics channel and these very simple mistakes happen. Okay, 42 votes. We're a representative sample. We got 35% really, really bad. We got 49% really bad. We got 11% not so bad. And we have 9% good. Whoa. I'm glad I put the good in there. I didn't think anybody would vote for good, but we got some goods in there. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Pops. What Dennis Prager did, was it bad?
Yeah, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. To me, this was flagrant.
Okay, so Cameron Bertuzzi is in the live stream chat, and he just sent that in. He voted really, really bad. Thank you, Cameron Bertuzzi from Captain Christianity. Okay, now I'm going to do another poll. Did it change at all? Should I revise the numbers? It changed slightly. 32, 11, 9. Okay. Another poll. End that one. Start a poll. Question on this poll is, don't worry, and I'll give my spiel later. Does religion lower suicide rates? Yes. No. I don't know. Ask your community. No. The question, if you came late, the question was about what I just played, about what Rationality Rules said. I hope you guys didn't vote on something you didn't understand. That's the problem with polls, right? Does religion lower suicide rates? Isn't this fun? Audience participation. Man, we're over 30 votes just like that. We got a representative sample, sort of. Suicide rates, we have. The audience says yes, 39%. No, 13%. I don't know, 48%. Interesting. Very interesting. Oh, let's change a little bit. Oh. Yeah, it's stabilized, right? Yeah, it's pretty stable. Okay, new poll. This is the last one. Last poll. It's early in the morning. I did it earlier because I know it's might be a better time for Rationality Rules. And if you're here, Rationality Rules, feel free to tag me and hop in. Does religion lower drug use? I'll even say addiction. Like bad drug use is what I'm saying. Bad drug use. Yes. No. I don't know. Please participate, give your opinion. Your opinions are valued greatly here at the Pine Creek channel. Unless you're stupid, then we don't care about your opinions. But nobody here is stupid, right? Everybody here has passed the IQ test during the intro stages of this live stream. You know what the IQ test is to get into this live stream? Well, of course you do, because you're here. It's what is 4 divided by 1/2. If you answer 2, we kick you out. If you answer 8, you stay. I used to ask that question in my undergraduate class that I taught. I said, what is 4 divided by 1/2? It was a class of like 150 physical science, education type students. I think there's some nurses in there. And I said, if you said 2, the exit's over there. Oh, we got different answers for the drug use one. The thing is, I like doing this because I think Rationality Rules will find this interesting too. Yes, 35%, which is a little lower than the suicide one. No, 27%, which is a lot higher than the suicide one. And I don't know is a lot lower. So people will at least have more of an opinion on the drug use. Okay, and I think we had about roughly the same number of people voting on each one there. Okay, now I'm going to play it again. And I'm going to give you my thoughts as we play it. I'll stop and go as I please. So if you don't like it, then you can click off. Oh, that's a great way. I don't swear, but that's a great way to say F off. Just click off, man. First things first. Okay. If you came late, I gave a disclaimer. And then my disclaimer is I'm going to try to manipulate your emotions and your feelings. And the goal here is to... especially for people who love Rationality Rules and really hate Dennis Prager, the goal for you is don't let me manipulate you. Don't let me manipulate your feelings and emotions. I want you to be like a robot, gathering data dispassionately. Okay, here we go. First thing I want you to do is I want you to imagine Dennis Prager is actually Bernie Sanders. I want you to imagine Dennis Prager is Bernie Sanders. They're both Jews. One's a religious Jew, one isn't. But I want you to imagine that Dennis Prager is actually Bernie Sanders, who's a religious Jew. But he's a social democrat, religious Jew. It's possible to be all those things, by the way. How's my volume? Okay, my volume is good. Okay, so with that said, let's press play. We're going to listen to Bernie Sanders, a socialist democrat.
So let me give you some data from the National Institutes of Health, National Library of Medicine. Data suggests that adherence to religious beliefs is associated with lower rates of suicide. Would you say that that's significant? A number of factors have been hypothesized to explain this association, including enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to rewind and show this. I got to make this bigger, right? So you can see it. Can you guys see that? Let's make we don't need that. Hey, where'd I go? Gotta make this as big as we can here. And then I gotta make it clear, sharpen. Oh yeah, baby. That looks good. Okay. Data suggests that adherence to religious beliefs is associated with lower rates of suicide. That's the first thing Bernie Sanders, a socialist democrat, has claimed. Is he right? Is Bernie Sanders, a socialist democrat, right that data suggests that adherence to religious beliefs? Yes, Bernie Sanders is right here. Conclusion of this is from PubMed religiosity as a protective factor against suicidal behavior, National Library of Medicine. Conclusion, religiosity has a protective effect against suicide attempts. So all those people in the live stream chat that voted yes, if you follow the science, some people don't want to follow the science, but if you want to follow the science, you would say that yes, religion does lower suicide. It's a protective effect against suicide attempts. And you got to attempt suicide to actually do a suicide, which is an independent of social functioning psychopathology. For those of you from Alabama, that means like mental illness, the study of mental illness, and substance abuse. It's independent of those things. Independent of those things, it says. That means, what does that mean? That means whether you have substance abuse or not, religiosity lowers suicide attempts. Whether you are mentally ill or not, religion lowers suicide attempts. Whether you're a socially functioning human being or not, religiosity, I should say, has protective effect against suicide attempts. So the first thing that Bernie Sanders, the social democrat, said here is true.
Association, including enhanced social support. This association. A number of factors have been hypothesized to explain this association, including enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology.
Okay, now Bernie Sanders himself said it here. You're looking at Bernie Sanders. Remember that in this, we're doing a thought experiment. This is Bernie Sanders, a socialist democrat, who made the claim, and I looked at one paper, and it seems like that claim is correct. And then he also said that a number of factors have been hypothesized. He actually said those words. Now, this is where I think Bernie Sanders is wrong, and it's coming up. Because there's a difference between hypothesize and conclude. And I think Bernie Sanders missed this.
Including enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology. That's all. That's all religion gives you. Let's review that.
That's all that religion gives you. Okay, this is where Bernie Sanders made his mistake. He doesn't understand, Bernie Sanders here doesn't understand that hypothesize doesn't mean a conclusion.
Social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology.
Okay, that's fair, right? It's fair to say that he misunderstood what hypothesized. And this is really important. Now, you can say he purposely doesn't, but then why would he read a word that is pronounced hypothesized and then talk like it's conclude? Because if you want to, I guess, fool your followers, your listeners, I don't think would even read this out, because your listeners would know what that, at least some of them would know what that means. But I also want to say that Bernie Sanders, even though it's not a conclusion, it's a factors that have been hypothesized to explain. This seems very reasonable. This seems like very reasonable hypotheses. What explains the lower rates of suicide? Well, we got some theories. And I would propose that Bernie Sanders, when he quotes this, is giving some very reasonable theories, or factors, I should say. Enhanced social support. Like if someone needs help, if they have suicidal thoughts and they need help, I mean, social support, don't you think that helps? Not to have these suicidal thoughts? Less substance abuse. Wouldn't you think that if you're not doing drugs and not having these addictions and maybe even crazy thoughts because of the drugs, that might help? And lower rates of this, mental illness, psychopathology. I mean, wouldn't you think that the more sane you are, some would say the definition of insanity is needlessly taking one's own life? So even though that these are not conclusions, they're very reasonable hypotheses of the factors that might lower rates of suicide.
Factors have been hypothesized to explain this association, including enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology. Well, that's all. That's all religion gives you. Let's review that. Enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology.
Yeah, now I would say this is bad. This is a bad take based on what he read. But let me throw this in. Based on what he read, it's a bad take, but not based on the study from the same journal. National Library of Medicine, same journal as he referred to earlier. Relationship between religiosity and psychopathology in patients with depression. Let me read the conclusion. Here we go. Religiosity has a significant effect on the psychopathology of the depressed patient, especially on hopelessness and suicidal intent. This implies that the incorporation of religious elements in the treatment of the depressed is likely to have a useful, positive impact. I'm actually a little trepidatious to say anything at this point, because anything I say is going to be misconstrued. But I gave you the disclaimer that I'm going to try to manipulate you, and I'm begging you not to let me. But I'm just going to read that. Religiosity has a significant effect on the psychopathology of a depressed patient. Incorporation of religious elements in the treatment of the depressed is likely to have a useful, positive effect.
That's all religion gives you. Let's review that. Enhanced social support, less substance abuse, and lower rates of psychopathology. That's pretty powerful.
Nicholas in the live stream chat says, yes, fine. Why didn't Prager use that study? He should have, Harry. He should have. I'm very curious to see what Rationality Rules would have said if he would have.
Do you want to know what's actually pretty powerful? Showing the title of one study, namely Religion and Suicide, New Findings, but when zooming in, showing an abstract from a completely different study.
Okay, I fact-checked this on my own, and Rationality Rules is right. The text you're seeing right now, you notice you can't see the title? But the title's different from a different paper. Now, here's where I differ with Rationality Rules. When Bernie Sanders did this, a socialist Democrat, by the way, I'm doing this on purpose because I'm manipulating your thoughts. Because there's always baggage. If you don't like Dennis Prager for some other reasons, for some things he said that's different than this, I'm putting it into something like, in other words, I'm saying, who cares who said this? Let's just look at what was said, okay? And it's true that it's a different title for these words. Now, my question is, okay, but is that bad? That's like that's like saying I'm quoting something similar from the Gospel of John, and I'm saying the Gospel of Mark wrote it, or Mark from the Gospel of Mark wrote it. But it's actually found in the Gospel of John. I know it's not quite the same, but that's the idea. Yes, that's bad, right? But is it that bad? And what would be the motivation to purposely, what's the motive to purposely change that title? Like, is Religion and Suicide New Findings? Is it just because the word new is in there and that might get people to think, oh, this is never before been heard of, so we got to pay attention? Maybe. But watch here.
In showing an abstract from
This is what Bernie Sanders showed. Religion and suicide, new findings. And that you can see the abstract with your own eyes down here. Hang on. So let's assume the worst motives. Let's assume blatant, purposeful manipulation and chicanery, deception, lying, dishonesty. Let's assume all that. You got to admit one thing. If you're going to put the title New Findings here of this particular journal paper, and then show the abstract below it so people can very quickly see that what you show on the next slide is not this, you're incompetent. You're an incompetent, dishonest person. Because people can see with their own eyes, like seconds later, oh, there's a difference here. That I think we can all agree on, that if this is deceptive manipulation and dishonesty, it's incompetent. Now, this is important. This is important because if you admit incompetence in the deception, that opens you up to admit incompetence on a lot of other things. Namely, the difference between a hypothesis and a conclusion.
religion and suicide, new findings, but when zooming in, showing an abstract from a completely different study. A study titled Religious Beliefs Buffer the Impact of Depression on Suicide Ideation. To make this clearer, here on the left you can see the study that Dennis reads the title of, and on the right you can see the abstract of a completely different...
Right. Rationality Rules is exactly right here, but Bernie Sanders, the Socialist Democrat, actually showed this, and then on the next slide showed this. He showed this stuff on the left and the right. So again, this is incompetence. If it's deception, it is terrible. If you're going to be dishonest and you want people to think you're telling the truth, did a really horrible job. This is why I think this is much to do about nothing, because I can't believe, well, no, I can't believe people can be incompetent. Let me just play it. I'll keep it going.
Different study he zooms into.
Well, that's all.
Except it's not all, is it, Dennis? Because you didn't just read a completely different abstract, but evidently added your own paragraph to it.
Okay, added your own paragraph to it. Rationality Rules, you know that's not true because you admit it later yourself. Added your own paragraph. Now, of course, maybe I should backtrack. What do you mean by added your own paragraph? Because when I hear your own paragraph, I think that it's something you wrote. But he didn't add something he wrote. As we'll find later, he added something from a different paper from the same journal.
Yeah. Here on the left is what the actual study's abstract states, whereas here on the right is the screenshot Dennis shows and reads out to his audience. You can even see above his added paragraph that it's the same abstract.
This is all true.
It's even got the same font, same hex colors.
Okay, so now you can say Bernie Sanders, the Socialist Democrat, is very dishonest and very deceptive. Or you can say that Bernie Sanders doesn't do his own copying and pasting. That's very reasonable to say for a big organization, that the top guy doesn't do his own copying and pasting. I don't even think this old Jewish guy knows how to copy and paste text from one paper to another. I'd be willing to bet that. And even if he knew how to do it, he probably wouldn't waste his time doing that sort of low-level stuff. So I think we have like a young kid working for this old guy, seen something that he likes in one paper, seen something he likes in another paper, because his boss told him, hey, find some stuff, some scientific stuff that makes religion look good. It's very reasonable to think this is what happened. Find me some scientific studies that makes religion look good. Oh, I found this. Oh, I found that. They both sound good to me. Let's put them together. And so this kid who knows how to copy and paste puts them together. And then says, hey, boss, look what I got. Oh, this looks good. That's pretty reasonable that could have happened, right? Meaning, and you got to keep in mind that the guy who copied and pasted this, how much you want to bet he's not hasn't read a lot of scientific papers before and knows the difference between an objective and a conclusion. That's very reasonable to assume. So the key here is incompetence.
And the same keywords. So did Dennis and his team add their own text to a study to bolster their case?
Okay, when you hear Rationality Rules ask the question like this, did his team add their own text? Rationality Rules actually answers this question with his own words coming up, and the answer is no. But if you are on Team Rationality Rules, you're going to say, oh yeah, he did, of course he did. And Rationality Rules is about to tell us how. No, they didn't add their own text. They added the text from another scientific paper. From the same journal, but just a different paper within the same cluster of journals, the whatever you call it, the National Library of Medicine.
Are they seriously that crooked?
I think they're seriously that incompetent.
Well, if we check the Wayback Machine, we can see that the site hasn't changed since it was published, which is standard for studies. And if we Google the text that Dennis and the Daily Wire have added, we can see just one result comes up. But get this, it's from yet another study.
See, remember what he said? He said, are they so crooked or something that they would add their own stuff? He just answered it. No, they used the words from a different study. They didn't add their own stuff.
A study titled Religiosity as a Protective Factor Against Suicidal Behavior. A study whose conclusion reads, religiosity has a protective effect against suicide attempts, which is independent of social functioning, psychopathology, and substance use.
Yeah, what that means is no matter what, no matter if you're crazy or not, do drugs or not, religion helps you, has a protective effect against suicide attempts. And this is what I think Bernie Sanders, the Social Democrat, should have just stuck with. What Bernie Sanders, the Social Democrat, should have said is, hey, you atheists, if you want to follow the science, then, and you don't want people to commit suicide, you should encourage religion. That's what he should have said. If you want to follow the science and you got a person who's suicidal, and you want to save their life, encourage them to join a religion. In fact, what demographic in society has the most suicide attempts or suicide ideation? What's that? Transgenders, you say? Yeah, I think you're right. According to the studies, the polls. So if you're an atheist listening and you know a transgender person who's suicidal and you care about their life, if you want to follow the science, you should encourage them to become religious because the science bears this out. Oh, don't let me manipulate your feelings and emotions. Be like a robot and just... I'll say that again. If you want to save a transgender's life, the science says religiosity has a protective effect against suicide attempts. So maybe they should become religious. Don't let your blood pressure go up. Don't let it.
But what Dennis did was take the objective and then paste it into another study to present it as if it's the conclusion, and to then paste both of these slices.
Okay, now look at these three. All from the same journal, National Library of Medicine, all three. Now, what would be the motive to take something from the Gospel of John and something from the Gospel of Luke and say the Gospel of Mark did it? Like, what are you trying to accomplish here, Bernie Sanders, a socialist Democrat, by doing this? I don't see the motive here. I just see incompetency. I see probably an intern who found some things that he thought his boss would like, who stitched them together. I mean, what do you gain by using a different title to a different part of a different paper? I don't see what you gain from it. Anyhow.
Under the title of a third study.
Would you say that that's significant?
Yes, I would. In fact, I'd say that it's a damn disgrace.
Like, this made me laugh out loud yesterday because I just thought of this feigned moral outrage. And don't get me wrong, this is incompetent and it's bad. But moral outrage? Moral outrage? This is moral outrage, Rationality Rules. The Holocaust against the Jews. That's moral outrage. Putting the wrong title of a paper to another part of text from the same journal, and then another part of text from a different journal. Yeah, bad. Okay. Incompetent, definitely. Moral outrage.
I cannot understate how unethical and immoral this is.
I can't understate. Yeah. I can't understate how unethical and yeah, I would agree with this. Yeah. I can think of a billion things that's more unethical and outrageous than this. Is it bad? Sure. Is it incompetent? Definitely. But what is with this? I can only think of this as thumping your chest and my tribe, this tribe is terrible, my tribe is good type mentality.
Paper they steal the objective from, even...
Okay, and even this language, the paper they steal...
How unethical and immoral this is. The paper they steal the objective from...
The paper they steal. Like, why use that language, steal? This is publicly available, free, scientific literature. How can you steal that? You can't. Don't let me manipulate your emotions. You can't steal that. This reminds me of vegans when they say you rape a cow when you eat cheese, and you murder a steer when you eat beef. This is the type of rhetoric that he's using.
Even states, contrary to Dennis, that there were no differences in social functioning or rates of psychopathology among the study groups.
Yeah, rates of suicide ideation were similar among secular, partially observant, and religious. A bunch of numbers. Look at this. 4,914 subjects, 8 died by suicide. Only 8. That's pretty good. I mean, not good for the suicide families, but 7 of them were secular and 1 was partially observant. So in other words, none of the 4,914 subjects studied were religious. I mean, very religious, I guess. And of the groups of religious, non-religious, partially observant, among those groups, there was no differences in social functioning or rates of psychopathology, meaning no differences in mental illness among the study groups. Conclusion, religiosity has a protective effect against suicide attempts. If you have a loved one who is suicidal and you want to follow the science, you should know that if they become religious and have a high degree of religiosity, that has a protective effect against their suicide attempts. Don't let me manipulate your feelings and emotions, but if transgenders were to become more religious, the science says that that has a protective effect against their suicide attempts. Oh, I love saying that because I know atheists like Rationality Rules will have to take a deep breath and calm themselves down because they want to follow the science, but yet they don't want people to become Christians or Jews like Dennis Prager, or religious of any sort, I guess.
And lower rates of psychopathology.
So there you have it, folks. Dennis and the Daily Wire were so desperate to justify their bigotry.
Bigotry? What bigotry? Bigotry against atheists? Or secularists? I view this as Dennis Prager cheerleading for his team. Team religion. Look what religion does. It helps here. He should have stuck with just suicide, but he broadened it. But even when he did broaden it, he's not that far off with this other paper where it says religiosity has a significant effect on the psychopathology of the depressed patient, especially on hopelessness and suicide intent. Here's the conclusion of another paper that has been talked about here. The evidence we have reviewed and presented above shows that religious beliefs, practices, and belonging, as well as spiritual programs inspired by faith in higher beings, significantly contribute to the prevention and the recovery from substance abuse. Religious beliefs and practices significantly contribute to the prevention of and the recovery from substance abuse. This study finds that 73% of substance abuse recovery programs in the USA include a spiritually based element as embodied, the 12-step programs, blah, 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 blah. You just follow, hey, this is in the national, this is the NCBI, same journal as the other papers that were mentioned. Bernie Sanders, the socialist Democrat, who I'm using as a substitute for Dennis Prager here is to help control for your biases, is basically making this point and cheerleading for his team religion. In addition, the efficacious role of spirituality, congregations, and faith-based institutions are particularly effective in community mobilization and timely response to crisis. Faith communities are adept at facilitating quality group interactions, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now let's be fair. Is this fuzzy to you guys? No, it looks okay. Although negative experiences with religion, clergy sex abuse, and other horrendous examples have been a contributory factor to substance abuse among some victims, given that more than 84% of scientific studies show that faith is a positive factor in addiction prevention. Hey, you crazy atheist listening, you follow the science. Religion helps. 84% of scientific studies show that faith is a positive factor in addiction prevention or recovery and a risk in less than 2% of the studies reviewed. So there is some negative. 84% positive factor, 2% risk factor. We conclude that religion and spirituality are exceptionally powerful, integral, and indispensable resources in substance abuse prevention and recovery. Faith plays a key role in treating the mind, body, and spirit. This is why I have said that if you're going to become an atheist, you better... I said it's a rich man's game, but I think I've also said that you have to be stable. You have to be financially independent. You don't have to be, but it helps. Financially independent and mentally stable. Because if you're a little bit crazy and nuts and there's drug problems and emotional problems and mental problems, I tell you, I feel sorry for you if you're an atheist. Because you don't have this. You don't have the community to help you. By the way, there's no such thing as an atheist community. Remember Atheism Plus? That's an admonition. This is admitting that there's no such thing as an atheist community because you can't make a community based on nothing. You can't make a community based on what you don't believe. You can try, but it will fail. I know Tom Jump's going to hate that. Religion is an excellent placebo. It's an excellent coping system. I shouldn't call it a placebo because the community aspect is real. Okay, back to Rationality Rules.
That they've cherry-picked a title from one study, an abstract from another study. Have it, folks. Dennis and the Daily Wire were so desperate to justify their bigotry.
So desperate to justify that religion can help people, and they cheerleading for his team. That's the way I look at it. And I think that view of incompetency and just cheerleading for your own team is a better explanation than, moral outrage. This is so bad. It reminds me of this.
That they've cherry-picked a title from one study, an abstract from another study, and digitally stitched in the objective from yet another study.
You know what this reminds me of?
Shall be burned to death.
Out of context! That's not what
You're
it
leaving
means.
out the important
come
parts
on,
of
you
that.
twisted the
Cherry-pick
meaning
the
of that.
Bible.
Anyone who blasts
Yeah, out of context. You cherry pick that. This is Rationality Rules. He's acting like the Christian who says, out of context, you cherry pick that, blah, blah, blah.
As to present it as a conclusion.
That's all.
You notice he's played this part, that's all, several times. I think at least 3 times, maybe 4. This is what I think bothers guys like Rationality Rules the most. This, like, I agree, like Dennis Prager here, Bernie Sanders, the Socialist Democrat, is being smug, right? He's being absolutely smug, and with that smile and that grin.
You can't help but smile like a little bitch.
Yeah, see, that's been said of me, but Dennis Prager is saying it right here, or doing it right here. I think that alone is what's really getting into the underwear of Rationality Rules. It's getting up his crotch. That smugness. And he can't step back and in my opinion, be a reasonable human being and say, look, this is a clear case of incompetency. They're not even trying to hide the fact that some of the text is coming from a different journal because they actually show it. If they're trying to manipulate and mislead people, they're incompetent at that. If they're incompetent at that, they're incompetent of even reading a journal article. So let me sum up. This is what I think happened. Dennis Prager said, hey, younglings, the people who work for me for minimum wage, find me some scientific data, whatever, I don't know, like that supports religion. Sure, boss. Oh, this looks good, that looks good. Let's put it together so we can put it all on one thing. Bad. Out of context, yes. But anything said there that was technically wrong? Like in isolation? No. Did they understand the difference between objective and conclusion? No, they didn't understand that. Incompetency. Is this a moral outrage? Is this flagrant dishonesty? If you're going to say it is, it's pretty bad. They're pretty bad at it. And then you're still left with this problem. You're left with the fact that these scientific journals that one and this one, Religion, Suicide, New Findings, that was just the title used. Nothing was used out of it. Religious Beliefs But for the Impact of Depression. They all come to similar conclusions in what Dennis Prager was trying to say. Religion can help people. Religion helps people with drug use, with suicide. And you stubborn atheists can't admit that because you're go team atheism. It's disgusting. Atheists need to grow up. And then I tell you, Christians are going to respect me. Jews are going to respect me way more than you because I can admit this. Because I follow the science. I mean, okay. So I'm now lifting the trigger warning. I've tried to manipulate your feelings and emotions in the past half hour or so. You can now relax. You can be more alive inside. You don't have to be dead inside anymore. You can let all your feelings out and let me know how you feel in the live stream chat. Oh, no. This is what we're going to do. Don't leave. Don't leave. We're not done. This is really important. I took a poll before I played this video. I'm going to take a poll again. Okay, hang on. This is so exciting. Start a poll. What Dennis Prager did here is very, very bad. Very bad. How did I word it? Not that bad. And good. Okay. What is that? Get rid of that. Okay. Put in your results. Vote now. This is like IQ squared or whatever. And don't vote based on whether you like me or not. Vote like a robot. Taking in the information. Don't vote based on your team. Vote based on the facts and the data presented. Oh yeah, you're right, Jerome. I used really? Yeah. So I said really, really bad, really bad. So I used the word really instead of very, but I think that's okay. Forgive me, for I have sinned. I think everything else is the same. You guys like the morning streams? Is like this time better than, let's say 3 hours from now? Okay, I'm going to do something here. Keep voting. Don't mind me. Please vote. I'm just double checking something. Okay. So before I gave my little speech. Hang on a second. Sorry, it's going to be a little hard to see. What I'm doing is I'm going back in time in my own live stream. I played Rationality Rules video without any comment, and I did this poll. Then I gave my little speech and gave a poll. We got about the same number of votes. It dropped from really, really bad from 32% to 20. Really bad. It dropped from 49 to went good from 9 to 10. Paying attention, Rationality Rules? This is why some atheists hate me, because I'm effective. Dangerous. 52 votes, 47 votes. The wording's a little different. Well, there you go, folks. So if you're the type of atheist that just listens to a video by Rationality Rules and says, yeah, that sounds good, maybe you should think a bit more. I feel manipulated, says Danny. Yeah, I manipulated you with reason and reasonableness. I would love Rationality Rules to respond to this. I mean, do you at least admit you went overboard? Like, do you at least admit that you thought, your immediate thought went to severe dishonesty before incompetency? It's so obvious, the incompetency, like when he shows a title with the abstract below, and then the next few seconds later shows a different one. Like it's like he's not even trying to hide it. He's basically, his younglings just basically presented him with some words, and he read it and said, yeah, go religion, because he loves religion. He loves religion. You hate religion. Well, I don't know if you hate religion, but some atheists hate religion. I used to be like a Hitchens guy that would say religion poisons everything. That is false if you follow the science. If you follow the science, religion does not poison everything. In fact, it can save people's lives. Why in the heck do you think we evolved? If you are a person who believes in evolution via common descent, why do you think we evolved with these ideas of religion and a supreme power watching over you, taking care of you, whatever? To help us not commit suicide. And BA Skeptic, thanks. If you rewind to the beginning, one of the very first things I said, don't let me manipulate you, but I'm going to test you right now. The very first thing I said, BA Skeptic, is today I'm going to be a Dennis Prager apologist. And don't let your blood pressure go up. Keep your emotions dead. You should be able to do that. You should be able to hear a guy like me say, I'm going to be an apologist for someone that you naturally typically hate. And you should be just dead inside. And then hear me out. It's a useful skill to have. Think about the person you hate the most. And then I'm going to be an apologist for that person and see if you can just be dead inside. It's great practice. Because if you value this thing we call truth, you got to practice these things. You got to practice being dead inside. More dead inside. People always say, Doug, you're not dead inside. I saw the other day you got... Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm a human being. I have faults. And, of course, emotions, and we evolved for a reason for that, too. We have these ideas and passions and emotions for a reason. We evolved. It helps us actually do actions. But it really sucks in thinking clearly and objectively sometimes. I love watching crime YouTube videos. And this, I forget the guy's name, but this guy stabbed a woman like 120 times. The evidence was overwhelming that this guy was guilty. And his mother, at the end, got to say something, the mother of the murderer. Said, I know my boy. I raised my boy. My boy is innocent. You think the mother of murderers are objective? No. No, they are not. Because love clouds judgment like nothing else. Compassion clouds your judgment like nothing else. Now, compassion and love are great for helping people, comforting people, and moving people to action. But if your main concern is just to figure out what's true and what's not, compassion is not going to help you there. A robot will. Spock will. Because we humans are so flawed with our biases. This is why I purposely called Dennis Prager, I called him Bernie Sanders, the socialist Democrat, to help you get out of your mind all these other things. And sure, there could be examples out there where Dennis Prager, like that I would say, yeah, this is blatant lying. But what I just played is not it. This is, in my opinion, blatant incompetency. And I would go further and say, even though it is incompetency, to borrow a term from Michael Licona, the gist of what he's saying is correct. And if any atheist here follows the science, they will admit that religion helps lower suicides. I got to be careful with my wording. No, Doug, that's not exactly it. But I'll put all the links to these papers in the live stream or in the description box later. And you can read the papers for yourselves. And be an atheist who can admit that religion can do good things for people. Don't be on team atheism. Be on team truth. Sorry, Doug, the evidence doesn't support your conclusions at all. The evidence doesn't support your conclusions at all. Conclusion. Religiosity has a protective effect against suicide attempts, which is independent of social functioning, psychopathology, and substance abuse. Religiosity has a protective effect against suicide attempts. That's paper 1. National Library of Medicine, religiosity is a protective factor against suicidal behavior. Paper 2. Religious beliefs buffer the impact of depression and suicide ideation. National Library of Medicine. Follow the science. Paper 3, relationship between religiosity, psychopathology, and patients with depression. National Library of Medicine. Conclusion. Religiosity has a significant effect on the psychopathology of the depressed patient, especially on hopelessness and suicidal intent. Follow the science. Paper 4, 3? Oh, I don't know. National Library of Medicine. Belief, behavior, and belonging. How faith is indispensable in preventing and recovering for substance abuse. Conclusion. Follow the science. Where is it? Life-saving medicines and psychological interventions are important parts of rescue and recovery. However, they are not enough. Religion and religious participation can address the many issues that lead people to alcohol or drug dependency. The evidence we have reviewed and presented above shows that religious beliefs, practices, and belonging, as well as spiritual programs inspired by faith in higher being, significantly contribute to the prevention and recovery of substance abuse. So if you disagree with these conclusions, you disagree with the science, Mr. Whoever you were. Stop being on team atheism. Stop denying the science that religion helps people. In fact, encourage transgender people with the highest suicide ideation to become religious if you really care about them, if you really want to save their lives. There you go. Now you got your blood pumping, right? If you really cared about transgender people, you lead them to Christ. Half my brain tied behind my back to make it fair. Talent on loan from God. It's not religion that helps, it's placebos. Is community a placebo? Or a bunch of people helping another person a placebo? No. That's real. And religion has that better than atheism. So suck it, Harry. Because atheism is a non-belief system. It's nothing. It's atheism, not theism. Religion helps people. Get over it. I hate, the thing is, you guys know me. I've done, some of you know me. I've done a ton of videos just douche with inspiring philosophy, right? Just smacking them around, showing inconsistencies, double standards, all these things. But this is a video that inspiring philosophy might see someday and say, finally an atheist admits it. By the way, religion doesn't mean Christianity for inspiring philosophy already listening. Any religion, it seems like. Although he would say most of these studies are based on Christian religions. It's not religion helping people, it's people helping people. Like, why do you feel the need to even say that, David Friskin? I got to bring up the live stream chat. This is so much fun. You feel the need to say that because you dislike religion with such a passion that you have to, like, what is religion if not a bunch of people with a shared common beliefs? And then you dare say it's not religion, it's people? People are the religion. It's a bunch of people with shared beliefs. Think. Doug doing gymnastics to avoid talking about the community being a relevant factor rather than religious beliefs. What binds a community together is these shared beliefs. And oftentimes, the crazier the beliefs, the stronger the binding. This is why atheist communities suck. Because they have nothing binding them other than a lack of belief or no belief. It's the negative. But when you can even take flat earthers. If you go to a flat earther convention, they share a bond because they all believe the same crazy thing. It's religion that binds these communities together. It's like, are you a Christian? Yeah. I am too. Immediate camaraderie. Are you a Muslim? Yeah, I'm a Muslim too. Are you a Jew? I'm a Jew too. Yay! This is what builds community. And for those of you who say, well, it's community doing it, not religion, that's just a stupid comment. But even if you want to say that, they use the word religion in these scientific papers, not community. They use the word religion. Hey, If you are an atheist who says, well, with climate change, you must follow the science. With transgenderism, you must follow the science. Well, follow the science with religion. I dare you. Double dog dare you. But because you're so biased against it, you can't bring yourself to say anything good about it. Because you were hurt in the church or whatever. Get over it. Follow the science. Flag waving phony atheists claim to value truth, science, and evidence, and then when it comes to religion, they just disregard it. What are we to do, Myron? 3 papers ain't science. Good for you, Mitesh. That's a different argument. Actually, the one paper referred to a bunch of other papers. I only listen to meta studies. I don't trust any one single paper. Meta studies is where it's at. Okay, fair enough. If there were a meta study that said religion helps lower suicides and drug abuse and all that sort of thing, recovery, if there was a meta study, would you say, yes, religion, good for that? Pinecreek is my shepherd. I shall not want. He leadeth me to the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Though I may walk through the valley of the shadow of rationality rules, I will fear not rationality rules, because I will think reasonably. I will not impugn dishonest motives when incompetency will do. For I am Pinecreek, saith Pinecreek. Grow up. Are you my dad? I might be. I know. Paternity test? You can click off if you don't like what you're hearing. I don't care. See, that's another thing. I shouldn't even say this. Well, no, I will say this. I respected what Rationality Rules did and said on the transgender issue, like, was it 3 years ago, 2 years ago? And you know why I respected it? It was about, like, transgender sports. I respected it because I knew that that would impact his subscribers and viewers in a negative way. And I think it did, at least in the short term. I respect that. I respect offending your followers and viewers by saying what you truly believe. Now, you can be wrong, but if you truly believe it, you're convinced of something, and if it comes up and you're scared to say it because some of your followers or subscribers might leave, I don't respect that. I understand that some people have to make a living doing this. I don't. I don't have to make a living from YouTube. So I have no problem if Christians hate me, if atheists hate me, because I know who I am, and I know there's a few people on this planet who love me. I don't need your love. I don't need your subscriptions. It's nice. You know, it's a little ego stroking here and there. But I'm going to say what I believe. And I believe that Rationality Rules, I'm not going to say he faked moral outrage, but I think his moral outrage on Dennis Prager is just not calibrated. I mean, poor calibration. If you think this is like breathtaking dishonesty, hugely unethical. I see it as incompetent interns slapping things together, saying, here, read this, Dennis. Oh, this looks good. Not understanding the difference between objective and conclusion. Not understanding the difference between hypothesis and conclusion. Not even trying to hide the fact that there's a different title for a different paper because he showed both side by side. Well, not side by side, but in the next slide. I mean, incompetency. But the main gist of what he was saying is true and right. And because of his smug smile, that's all. It bothers people like Rationality Rules so much that he just, I get the sense that he just loses a bit of his objectiveness. Like, for a Christian, it's like, okay, I'm just going to speak to Christians and Jews right now. The reason why guys like Rationality Rules got so upset is because for them, scientific papers like these are his Bible, and you took it out of context. You know how you feel, Christians and Muslims and Jews, when atheists stitch together verses from all over the place and then, come to a conclusion, and then you say, out of context. That's why Rationality Rules was mad, because you tampered with his Bible. Don't do that. That's his sacred text. This is how he finds truth. I do too, by the way. But I don't do it like blindly. Some scientific papers are garbage. Some are good. I like that. Scientific papers are some atheist's Bible. And you don't want to take it out of context. Don't copy and paste one stuff from one paper to another.
Leaving out the important parts of
you
that.
twisted the
Cherry-picked
meaning
the
of that.
Bible.
Anyone who blasphemes the name of the Lord must be put to death. The entire assembly must stone him.
What about the historical
You're leaving out the
context?
important parts of
Why
that.
do you have to
That's
take
for a
one
different
verse on its
time and a
own?
different culture.
Yeah, that's how I view Rationality Rules. It's like face red, moral indignancy. Okay. Any questions? Tag me. The clip of Laughing Dennis is Jabba the Hutt fallacy. Prager's going to lose his audience if he talks like that. Mr. Didi gave you a shout out on the line last week, but mentioned he didn't think highly of your politics. Well, that's because he's a left-leaning liberal. Granola cruncher, tree hugger, bleeding heart, full of compassion and love. Would never say anything negative about disenfranchised minority, even though that they might be wrong sometimes. You should replace Carlson and Lemon. Hey, there you go. Yeah, there's an opening at Fox News. Oh, what's interesting about Carlson Tucker is I don't know why he got canned, either because of all the lawsuits or because he's not like pro-Republican like a lot of Republicans think he should be. You would think the liberals, the left, would like that about Tucker. Like, he pisses off other Republicans. Soy drinking. Thank you, Gorgeous Rider Chrome. I wonder how religion compares to gender-affirming care when it comes to mitigating suicide ideation. Hey, we should do a study on that. Oh, wouldn't that be hilarious if religion is more effective as gender-affirming care than what psychologists do? Follow the science. Well, that's impossible, Doug. That's just impossible. I'll go one more round. If you disagree with me on anything I've said, now's your chance to type it in. Just say a few words, I'll know what you mean. Will you watch my pastor's last video on his channel, Life Church Laurel, during your next live? I can write it down. Have my younglings copy and paste and stitch things together out of context. Life Church Laurel. He's your pastor, is he? Am I blocked on Pinecreek Religion? I can never see my chat. I can't donate. I'm not sure. I can double check. I'll write that down. I know from the top of my head that you've been a naughty boy at least once or twice. But I love your manipulation there. You want to be unblocked so you can donate. I'll hold you to it. Because if you're good at something, never do it for free. Where's that line from? What is the best community for an atheist like you? My poker nights. Hey, and Mozzarella Cheese Man, why aren't you coming to poker? Pinecreek Politics, Religion as suicide prevention having better rates would be bragging about getting a better score in easy mode, though. Can someone translate what Arnold's saying? Is his translator here? Correct, Costa Kim Productions. When you're good at something, never do it for free. If anybody has Rationality's ear, send them this video. Poof. Hey guys, we'll see you Thursday. Thursday I'll do the theist thing. Which of course everybody agrees with me then. But here, and then, no, not so much.